Hey guys, thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to do an overview on my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. I'll go through the specs and I'll show you the accessories I've added to the bike so far. This is a 2022 model and the color is called Orange Crush. You can get the bike in a few other color schemes, but this really is my favorite color out of all the ones they offer. So the engine in this bike is 648cc. It's an inline twin-cylinder four-stroke, and it's got a single overhead cam. And that just means that there's one camshaft that governs both the intake and the exhaust valves. The engine is an inline twin, so it's got two cylinders in a line along the crankshaft. The engine has a bore at 78 millimeters, and the stroke is 67.8 millimeters. It's got a compression ratio at 9.5 to 1. I've been thinking about taking the bike up to 10 to 1. I built a hot rod a while back and I put a 10 to 1 ratio in a 350, and that thing was just a beast. The max power from the engine is 46.8 horsepower, and that's at 7,250 RPMs. And the max torque on the bike is 38.6 foot-pounds. The bike has an electric start. The air filter is a paper element. I happen to have an extra one, and it looks just like that. The bike has forced lubrication, and it's a wet sump with a pump-driven oil delivery. In a forced lubrication system, the pump circulates the oil through a cooler, which is right here on the front of the bike, then through the oil filter, and then it goes on to a distribution system that directs the oil to all the bearings and everything else. A wet sump just means the crankcase sump is used to store the oil, so the sump is the oil pan. The gearbox is a 6-speed constant mesh, so the gears stay engaged or in mesh all the time. The oil cap to fill the bike is on the right-hand side of the engine, and they recommend using a fully synthetic 10W50 to an API SL or higher. A dry fill on the bike is going to take about 4.1 quarts, and the refill is going to take 3.3 quarts. There's a sight glass on the lower right-hand side of the engine, so you can check the oil level. The fuel supply on the bike is fuel injection, and what that means is it's basically an electronic controlled valve that opens and closes multiple times per second, and it evenly distributes the fuel, which makes for better combustion and better fuel efficiency. The engine is air-cooled, so it relies on circulation over these fins and other parts of the engine. That way it can stay in operating temperature. They actually say in all combustion engines that about 44% of the heat generated escapes through the exhaust and only 12% through the fins. About 8% of the heat energy is transferred to the oil. Even though it's meant primarily for lubrication, it plays a role in heat dissipation because of the cooler up front. The ignition on the bike is digital spark, and there's a timing advance of 11.25 degrees before top dead center. And what that's going to do is make the spark plugs fire and light the fuel before the end of the compression stroke. The clutch is a wet multi-plate, and what that means is there's a number of plates instead of just one. And since there's more plates, there's more friction surface. And with more friction surface, it lets the clutch transfer more torque. And the wet clutch just means that the clutch is operated while sitting in an oil bath. The primary drive on the bike is a gear drive, and the purpose of the clutch is to engage the primary drive to the transmission. The secondary drive is sprockets and chain with a 5/8 pitch. The secondary drive includes both the transmission output sprocket and the rear wheel sprocket. The secondary ratio on the bike is 2.53 to 1, And in order to calculate the secondary drive, you divide the number of teeth on the rear wheel sprocket by the number of teeth on the transmission sprocket. The frame is made of tubular steel, and it's a double cradle frame. That just means that it's a double down tube chassis. You can see one down tube here and another down tube right here. The front suspension has 41mm forks with 110mm travel. The rear suspension consists of two single coilover shocks, and they have an 88mm travel. The bike has a dual-channel Bosch 9.1 anti-lock braking system on both the front and the rear. In the front, there's a 320mm disc, and the rear disc is 240mm. The front tire size is 100/90-18, and the rear tire size is 130/70-18. The owner's manual and all the brochures say the bike comes with Pirelli Phantom Sports comp tires. I'm not sure when they changed it, but now the bike comes with Seat brand tires. These are the Zoom Cruise models. I really don't like them. They tramline a lot and seem to take me all over the road. The front wheel is an 18 by 2.5, and the rear wheel is an 18 by 3.5. I might change these later on, but with these wheel sizes, my tire options seem to be limited. The steering lock is in the ignition. You turn it counterclockwise, and now the handlebars are locked. The instrument cluster is digital with LCD. The front headlight is halogen. I'm going to be upgrading this soon. It's really not good for touring, and I seem to outrun my headlight a lot. The fuel cap is released with a key, and the bike takes unleaded 91 octane or higher gasoline. The tank holds 3.6 gallons, and the low fuel warning comes on at 0.76 gallons. The bike has a 24-degree rake on it, and the ground clearance is 6.85 inches. The seat height is right at 31.6 inches, and the bike's pretty hefty. With 90% gas and oil, the bike weighs right at 470 pounds. I've put a few accessories on the bike. I got the touring mirrors, which I highly recommend. I got the pad for the crossbar on the handlebars. I got the short tinted fly screen that I installed. I've also got the large engine guards on the bike. And I took the extensions off the front and rear fenders. I also got some black fenders. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them, but I'll set one here so you can see what it looks like. Well, that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead, click subscribe, and stay up to date with my latest videos. Well, thanks again, and have a wonderful day.